When I was notified by the ADL about this award, I was, of course, honored and moved. But I said, you really should give it to my dad first. And so I'm grateful, of course, to the ADL for that. In 2009, the very early morning hours of January 1st, New Year's Day, Robbie Tolan, an unarmed young African-American man, was entering his home in Bel Air, and he was shot by a police officer. He had done nothing wrong. The bullet entered his body, virtually liquefied his liver, and he hung between life and death. The family called George Gibson. George called me, and I called my dad. And together, we went to Robbie's house and met with his family, looked at the scene, and as George and I were looking out onto the eave, onto the patio where this had happened, and talking about what to do next, my father, who had been standing there, put a hand on my shoulder, put a hand on George's shoulder, and said, "Guys, this is why we got law licenses." Through all the years that I practiced, at that time had been about 15 years, I'd practiced a lot with my dad. And we'd handled a lot of interesting, fun cases together. And he was passionate about all of his clients. But that was the first time I'd heard him say that. And through all those years that my father has been practicing, he remembered, has always remembered, why he got his law license. And it was for that reason. And those are the values that I'm proud to say he passed on to my brother Gabe, to my sister Caitlin, and to me. And we could not be more proud to see him receive this honor today. Congratulations. It is now my pleasure to introduce one of the Luncheon's honorary chairs and good friend of my dad's, Harry Reasoner.
David Berg has had a remarkable career as a lawyer. I know very few lawyers of whom it can be said that they're great civil trial lawyers and that they're great criminal trial lawyers. David has mastered both. He has demonstrated, I'm going to make this brief. I say that because I know David is going to be disappointed that I'm limiting my compliments. The degree of skill and courage that he has exhibited in protecting constitutional rights has been truly remarkable. He, for example, filed suit to protect the rights of protesters to give demonstrations during the Vietnamese War. He won that case in the Supreme Court, protecting their right to demonstrate and express themselves in his third year of practice. The case that he tried against the Ku Klux Klan to stop violence to Vietnamese fishermen and successfully got them enjoined from doing so is one of the highest contributions a lawyer can make to society and their fellow citizens to aid in the protection of minorities and constitutional rights. David's additional civic enterprises, his fights against discrimination, his efforts to protect the environment, his many ways of public service are truly too lengthy for me to enumerate. But let me say you'd be impressed with all of them if you haven't read the program yet, and if you haven't had an opportunity to read it, or you have trouble reading, David will read it to you. With David's remarkable accomplishments in the law, it scarcely seems fair that he's also a formidable writer. His book, Run, Brother, Run, a memoir of his brother's tragic death, the effects on his family and on him, is a powerful and moving memoir. I think it's a superb book, and I commend it to all of you. Frankly, I don't know very many lawyers who can write that well, as much as I hate to admit it. So I would say, to sum up, that David's career has exemplified the highest aspirations of our profession. It takes courage when you're a lawyer to represent Vietnamese protesters in Houston, Texas in that time, to sue the Ku Klux Klan, etc. David has done that throughout his career and life. I am delighted to participate in this tribute to David. And if you'll turn your attentions to the video screens now, we'll have a further tribute to David on video. Thank you.
It's our pleasure to present the 2014 Karen H. Susman Jurisprudence Award to David Berg.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll try to help all this makeup on.
All right, I'll take this from you, so you
You want to take it?
I'll just put it right over here.
Over the last few years, I've had occasion to do a lot of research with my sister Linda's help on our family background in preparation for writing the memoir that Harry mentioned, which is available on Amazon, but it's not. You know, Martin Kaminsky has sweated this moment for so long, he thinks this is the end of his job. And also Dina Marks had me go through a lot of old family pictures for use in the video, and it reminded me of something that I've become more and more aware of over the years, and that is, of all the myths of the self-made man, there's nothing greater, no greater myth than the idea that anybody is self-made. And in receiving an award like this, you think about all the people along the way who made the difference. I think about my parents. I never saw my father without a book in his lap, and he spent the rest of his time trying to figure out what to say to me about my grades. My immediate family, the lawyers I watched over the years. I lived during what Jim Sales calls the golden age of trial law. I got to see Joe and Ronnie Christ and Racehorse, my mentor, and so many more of you in trial, and what a huge difference that made in my life. But as I've gotten older, and I think this is true of all of us, I value more and more my wonderful family. My wife, Catherine, my sons, Gabe and Jeff, and my daughter, Caitlin, are the reason for being for me. Catherine and I celebrate this year our 20th anniversary. And while we're discussing our marriage, I would like to pass on to you, in the spirit of fellowship and ecumenism and love here in the room, something Catherine said to me recently. She said, "David, I never had an anti-Semitic thought in my life until I married you." It's not funny. What's wrong with you people? No, my brilliant wife has meant so much to me these past 23 years. My children, we're an entire family of lawyers except for my high school daughter, Caitlin, and she's shown a real interest in the law of late. She spoke with her brothers on the phone for some time and came to me and said, "Daddy, what is a guardianship exactly?" It has been the support of all these people and so many more, and a voice from long ago telling me I could do whatever I wanted to do in my life despite a mountain of evidence to the contrary, my brother Alan. When I was 25 years old, I was working in D.C. as a clerk at the National Labor Relations Board, and I got the message that I'd passed the bar exam. So I got with my friend, the late Stuart Nelkin, who was a wonderful lawyer, and he and I decided we didn't want to have to travel all the way back to Texas to get sworn in, so we decided we'd find a local judge to swear us in. So I called Justice Marshall, who was there locally, and he had not been sworn in, so he sent us on to Justice Fortas. And Justice Fortas' secretary took the phone, and I said, I asked, would he swear us into the bar? We've just passed the bar. And she said, let me check. And she put the phone down, and for an interminable period of time, I waited and wondered, and she came back and said, be here at 8:30 in the morning. And there I was the next morning with my right hand raised, becoming the thing that we don't let ourselves believe we're going to be while we're in law school. I was being sworn into the bar as a lawyer by a member of the Supreme Court of the United States, and afterwards chatting with this great man. And I thought, here I am, totally unconnected, no connections, less money, and I'm talking with this man, and we speak the same secret language of the law. And at that moment, I felt proud and grateful and humble, and that's how I feel today. And I want to thank all of you, each and every one of you, from the bottom of my heart for being here, for supporting the ADL, for supporting this wonderful award that they've given me. And especially I say thanks to all the lawyers in the room. I remember when Steinbeck won the Nobel Prize, he said, I roar like a lion with pride in my profession, and that's how I feel. I hope it's how you feel about this noble profession of ours. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You can have that. Maybe it'll bounce for you. Thank you, David. Your very special life, with its charm and wit and service to the community, inspires us all, and we thank you. We're indeed honored by your acceptance of this award today. As ADL begins its second century of service, we recognize that our work would not be possible without a system of jurisprudence that ensures liberty and civil rights for all. We thank each of you for the important role that you play in helping us ensure our great democracy. We appreciate your friendship with us, and we invite you to connect with us year-round by taking a look at the Friends of ADL brochure and being part of our Friends program so that we can be in touch with you with the great information and work that we get to do throughout the year because of your support. As we close today's luncheon, I'd like to invite you to watch an 80-second video. Some of you may have seen it before. It was prepared for our centennial celebration last year. But the theme, Imagine, reminds us that, like David, we must all imagine a world without hate. And we must continue to stand together as a community to fight against hate and bigotry until we have accomplished that goal and it becomes real for everyone. I ask you to close our program by watching the screens, and I thank you all very much for being part of this year's Karen H. Susman Jurisprudence Award.